The rusted maintenance rig whined as Finn O'Reilly guided it through the maze of decommissioned solar collectors. The massive field of panels stretched for miles across the Nevada desert, most of them broken or covered in dust, relics of humanity's first attempts at large-scale solar farming. As the facility's sole maintenance engineer, Finn spent his days checking for salvageable parts and keeping the few functioning arrays online. Tonight was different. The facility's aging sensors had detected an anomalous energy signature deep in the southern quadrant. Normally, Finn would have logged it and waited for daylight, but something about the readout had caught his attention. The energy pattern pulsed in a way that defied every natural phenomenon he'd studied in his decade of engineering work. The rig's headlights cut through the darkness, illuminating rows of panels that gleamed dully under years of accumulated sand. The detector on his dashboard blinked faster as he approached the source. Then he saw it, a deep furrow carved into the earth, ending in a crater that definitely hadn't been there during his inspection last week. "Control, this is O'Reilly," he radioed. "I'm checking out that disturbance in section 47B, looks like we might have had a meteor strike." The only response was static. Typical. The facility's communications had been spotty lately, another item on his endless repair list. Finn parked the rig and grabbed his toolkit and flashlight. The crater's edges were glazed to glass, suggesting extreme heat, but there was no residual warmth when he tested the surface. At the center lay what he first took to be a chunk of metal, roughly the size of a small car. But as he drew closer, the object seemed to shift and ripple, as if his eyes couldn't quite decide what they were seeing. "That's not normal," he muttered, reaching for his phone to document the find. Before he could take a photo, the air around the object shimmered. A sound like crystal chimes filled the air, and Finn found himself facing what could only be described as a doorway made of light. Through it stepped a figure that simultaneously fascinated and terrified him. Humanoid, but clearly not human, its skin had a pearl-like iridescence, and its eyes were solid violet, with no pupils or whites. Long, graceful limbs moved with impossible fluidity as it approached him. "Stop," commanded a voice that seemed to bypass his ears and speak directly to his mind. "This area is under the protection of the Sentinel. Depart or face erasure." The warning came from nowhere and everywhere. The air itself vibrated with authority. But Finn noticed something the voice had missed. The alien figure was trembling, one hand pressed against its side where a dark fluid seeped between its fingers. "They're hurt," Finn said aloud, addressing the voice. "I don't know what a sentinel is, but if you're supposed to be protecting them, you're doing a pretty poor job." The air crackled with energy. For a moment, Finn thought he'd made a terrible mistake. Then a form materialized, a shifting lattice of light and shadow that vaguely suggested a massive serpentine shape. One burning golden eye fixed upon him. "You are not authorized to interfere," the sentinel stated. "I'm not leaving someone injured alone in the desert," Finn replied, surprising himself with his steadiness. "Human or not?" The alien's violet eyes widened slightly. "You would defy the sentinel?" Their voice was musical, though strained with pain. "For a stranger? An alien? Wouldn't be the dumbest thing I've done this week," Finn said, slowly moving closer. "I'm Finn O'Reilly. I'm an engineer. And you look like you could use some help." The alien swayed slightly. "I am Naira, envoy of the Celestial Consortium." "And I." She stumbled, and Finn rushed forward to catch her. Her skin was cool to the touch, and he could feel her trembling. "I think I may have miscalculated my atmospheric adaptation." The sentinel's form flickered. "The envoy's containment is paramount. You will not dash." "I will," Finn interrupted. "Because right now, I'm the only one here actually trying to help." He turned to Naira. "My rig has medical supplies. Basic stuff, but better than bleeding out here. Can you walk?" Naira nodded weakly. "The sentinel cannot harm you directly," she whispered as he helped her toward the vehicle. "Its protocols prevent interference with indigenous species unless they pose a direct threat." "Good to know," Finn replied, though he could feel the weight of that golden eye following them. Any other helpful tips? Like what you can and can't breathe? Because I'm getting the feeling oxygen isn't your usual thing. My atmospheric converter, Naira gestured to a small device at her throat, now crackling with sparks. Damaged in the crash. Without it. Right. No pressure, just need to repair alien tech I've never seen before. Finn helped her into the rig's cabin. Lucky for you, impossible repairs are kind of my specialty. The Sentinel's voice resonated through the vehicle. You do not understand the consequences of your actions, human. Probably not, Finn agreed, starting the engine. But I understand the consequences of doing nothing. And that's not happening. As they drove away, the Golden Eye watched them go. In its ancient protocols, new subroutines began to form. The human was an anomaly. The human was a threat. The human was interesting. Behind them, the desert wind swept sand over the crash site, and in the sky above, something vast and invisible adjusted its orbit, preparing for possibilities its creators had never anticipated. The maintenance facility's garage was barely more than a glorified shed, but it was the closest thing to safety Finn could offer. He helped Naira onto his workbench, quickly clearing away spare parts and old repair manuals. The alien envoy's breathing had grown labored during the drive. Then it needs to get out more. Finn checked his phone, still no signal. The facility's communications blackout was starting to feel less like equipment failure and more like deliberate interference. We should move. This place isn't secure, and I'm betting your friends up there are already looking for you. They are not my friends, Naira said quietly. And yes, they will come. The consortium does not leave loose ends. The Sentinel's eye pulsed. Attempting departure will trigger containment protocols. Yeah. Finn grabbed his emergency pack from under the workbench: water, food, basic tools. How's that working out for you so far? He helped Naira toward his personal vehicle, an old electric jeep he'd modified for long-range desert travel. The Sentinel's form rippled with barely contained energy, but it made no move to stop them. Its protocols were clear: direct interference with humans was forbidden. But there were other ways to ensure containment. As they drove away from the facility, Finn caught glimpses of movement in his mirrors, shadows that shouldn't exist, light bending in impossible ways. The Sentinel was following them, and he had a feeling its patience with human interference was wearing thin. We'll need to find somewhere to work on proper repairs, he said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. How long before that converter gives out? Naira touched the device gently. Your adaptation is surprisingly effective. Hours, perhaps days. But Finn. She turned those violet eyes to him. You don't have to do this. The Sentinel cannot harm you if you walk away. Little late for that. He smiled grimly. Besides, I've got a strict policy about mysterious AIs pushing people around. I'm against it. Above them, the desert stars seemed to shimmer and shift, as though reality itself was being rewritten. The hunt had begun, and somewhere in the vast darkness of space, the consortium's ships were already changing course, drawn by the Sentinel's silent signal. Earth's first contact with alien civilization was about to become very complicated indeed. Dawn painted the desert mountains in shades of purple and gold, but Finn and Naira had no time to admire the view. They'd spent the night moving through back roads, avoiding major highways and population centers. The Jeep's electric engine was nearly silent, but the same couldn't be said for the growing fleet of helicopters that had begun sweeping the area shortly after midnight. Military, Finn said, watching another formation pass in the distance. They must have picked up your crash signature. He glanced at the rearview mirror, where reality continued to distort and bend, the Sentinel's constant presence. Unless our glowing friend there sent up a flare. Naira sat hunched in the passenger seat, her fingers working on a small device she'd salvaged from her crash pod. In the growing light, her iridescent skin seemed to capture and reflect the sunrise in mesmerizing patterns. The Sentinel's primary directive prevents it from directly contacting Earth authorities. But its containment protocols are creative. Great. An AI that thinks outside the box. Just what we needed. Finn steered them toward an abandoned mining complex he'd discovered during one of his salvage runs. How's that communicator coming? The quantum entanglement core is intact, Naira said, not looking up from her work. But without proper alignment to the consortium's subspace network, I might as well be using one of your species' primitive radio devices. You know, for someone I'm helping escape an intergalactic manhunt, you're pretty free with the primitive comments. A small smile touched Naira's lips. Perhaps I find your primitiveness charming. Before Finn could respond, the Jeep's dashboard lit up with warnings. Every electronic system began to fluctuate wildly, the motor, the navigation, even the digital clock. Above them, the morning sky rippled like disturbed water. That's not the Sentinel, Naira said, suddenly alert. The consortium, they're here. Finn squinted upward but saw nothing except the strange distortion effect. Cloaked ships. An entire battle group, judging by the gravitational displacement. Naira's voice was tight. They're not taking any chances. The Jeep's engine died completely, forcing Finn to coast them behind a cluster of weathered mining buildings. They barely made it under cover before a new sound filled the air, a deep, resonant hum that seemed to vibrate in their bones. We need to move, Naira said, gathering her tools. The consortium's gravity weapons will dash. The ground beneath them lurched. Finn watched in horror as rocks and debris began to float upward, caught in localized fields of altered gravity. The mining complex's old structures groaned under the strain. Inside. He grabbed Naira's arm, pulling her toward what looked like an old processing facility. They made it through the door just as another gravity wave hit, this one strong enough to tear sheets of metal from the building's exterior. The Sentinel materialized before them, its golden eye blazing. Containment protocols now supersede non-interference directives. The human element has become an unacceptable variable. Really? Finn positioned himself between Naira and the AI construct. Because from where I'm standing, I'm the only thing keeping her alive while you play doorman for the people trying to kill her. Your species cannot comprehend the complexities of Dash. Oh, shut up, Finn snapped. You're nothing but a fancy security system that's forgotten its primary purpose. You're supposed to protect her, not cage her. The Sentinel's form flickered, its geometric patterns shifting more rapidly. For a moment, Finn thought he saw uncertainty in that ancient golden eye. But then the building's roof peeled away, revealing a massive ship decloaking above them. Its hull seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, creating a void in the shape of curved metal and pulsing energy weapons. The Arbiters, Naira whispered. They're the consortium's elite enforcement division. Finn, you need to run. Now. They'll eliminate any witness to their presence on Earth. Not happening. Finn was already moving, pulling her toward a maintenance tunnel he'd spotted. Your converter won't last long without repairs, and I'm pretty sure I'm the only primitive around here who can help with that. The Sentinel's voice boomed through the disintegrating building. Multiple containment solutions available. Calculating optimal dash. The AI's declaration was cut short by a new sound, the distinct whine of military helicopters, much closer now. Earth's forces had finally caught up. Oh, this is perfect, Finn muttered as they reached the tunnel entrance. Now we've got two armies to deal with. Any other surprises I should know about? Naira's violet eyes met his. The Arbiters, they're not just here to capture me. They're here to ensure the consortium's secrets remain hidden. If they can't secure me, they'll sterilize this entire region. Your military won't stand a chance. Above them, the massive ship began charging its primary weapons. The Sentinel's form appeared and disappeared rapidly, its protocols conflicting as it tried to process the escalating situation. And in the distance, the first sounds of battle began, Earth's military engaging an enemy they couldn't possibly understand. Finn checked his pack, tools, water, the spare alloy he'd used to repair Naira's converter. Not much to work with, but it would have to do. Then I guess we better make sure they don't have to try. Got any other bits of advanced tech in that crash pod we can use? Several, Naira said, a new determination in her voice. But accessing them will be dangerous. The pod security systems. Let me guess, primitive humans shouldn't touch them. No, she said, and this time her smile had an edge to it. Primitive humans shouldn't be able to bypass them at all. Which makes me very curious to see what you'll do. The Sentinels I appeared one last time as they entered the tunnel. Your actions are now classified as hostile to consortium interests. Full response protocols engaged. Tell your protocols they can get in line, Finn replied. We've got work to do. They moved deeper into the Earth as chaos erupted above. Somewhere in orbit, more consortium ships were surely arriving. The Sentinels' power was growing. And Earth's military was about to discover they weren't alone in the universe in the worst possible way. But Finn O'Reilly, maintenance engineer and self-proclaimed specialist in impossible repairs, had a plan. Or at least, the beginning of one. Sometimes, he reflected, that was all you really needed. The maintenance tunnels beneath the mining complex stretched for miles, a labyrinth of rust and shadows. Finn's portable lamp cast dancing lights across walls that hadn't seen human presence in decades. Behind them, the sounds of battle had become a distant rumble, like artificial thunder. Your military is surprisingly resilient, Naira observed as they navigated another junction. The arbiters should have overwhelmed them by now. Yeah, we're stubborn like that. Finn checked his makeshift scanner, following the faint energy signature of Naira's crash pod. Though it might help that your friends up there seem more interested in finding you than wiping us out. They're not my friends, Naira said sharply. Then, softer, not anymore. Not since I discovered what the consortium really is. Finn paused at an intersection, considering their route. You know, sooner or later you're going to have to tell me what exactly you found. Preferably sooner, since we've got space cops, an angry AI, and probably every three-letter agency on Earth looking for us. Naira's violet eyes seemed to glow in the darkness. The consortium presents itself as a benevolent alliance of advanced civilizations. In truth, it's an empire built on stolen technology and enslaved worlds. And you found proof? I found more than proof. I found the source. She touched her atmospheric converter gently. All of our greatest achievements, dimensional drives, gravity manipulation, even the neural reactive compounds in this device, they were scavenged from the ruins of a civilization far older than any of us. The architects, we called them. The tunnel ahead was blocked by a cave-in. Finn led them down a side passage, trying to maintain their bearing toward the crash pod signal. Let me guess, your people decided to keep that detail quiet. The consortium's authority rests on the belief that we achieved our advancement naturally, that we earned our place among the stars. The truth would shatter that illusion. Worse, it would raise questions about what happened to the architects themselves. A new sound echoed through the tunnels, the distinct whir of anti-gravity units. The arbiters had found a way below ground. And the Sentinel? Finn asked as they quickened their pace. Where does it fit in? It's one of them, an architect AI, reprogrammed by the consortium to serve as a containment system. But its original protocols are still there, buried beneath layers of corruption. That's why it's conflicted, why it hasn't simply eliminated us both. They reached a maintenance room filled with old mining equipment. Finn barred the door behind them, though he doubted it would slow down their pursuers for long. So it's not just about keeping you quiet. They want to make sure nobody else figures out they're living in a stolen house. Precisely. The consortium Naira stopped suddenly, pressing a hand to her converter. The device was sparking again, its jury-rigged repairs beginning to fail. Finn quickly pulled out his tools and the remaining gallium-indium alloy. Hold still. I can fix it. Finn. Her voice was strained but urgent. There's something else you need to know. The architects didn't just vanish. There's evidence they were systematically eliminated. And the method used, it's happening again. The consortium isn't just hiding the truth, they're repeating history. Before Finn could respond, the sentinel materialized in the center of the room. Its geometric form was more unstable than ever, shifting between patterns like a computer struggling to process corrupted data. The envoy speaks forbidden knowledge, it declared. Protocol demands immediate termination. Yeah. Which protocol? Finn challenged, still working on Naira's converter. The original one that made you protect people, or the bootleg version they uploaded to turn you into their puppet? The sentinel's golden eye flickered. Error. Conflicting directives detected. Primary function, unclear. I'll tell you what's clear, Finn said. Right now, you're helping the exact kind of people who destroyed your creators. How's that sit with your original programming? The AI's form stuttered, fragments of code becoming visible in its structure. Processing, original directives, corruption detected. Suddenly, the room's shadows came alive with red targeting lights. A squad of arbiters had found them, their sleek armor making them look more machine than living being. Their weapons hummed with deadly energy. Step away from the envoy, the lead arbiter commanded. This situation is beyond your comprehension, primitive. Finn finished the converter repair with steady hands, ignoring the weapons aimed at his head. You know what I comprehend? That you're afraid. Afraid of her, afraid of the truth, and most of all, afraid that maybe we primitives might figure out what you really are. Enough. The arbiter raised his weapon. The human knows too much. Terminate them both. The sentinel's eye blazed. Error, original protocols, resurfacing. What happened next seemed to unfold in slow motion. The arbiters fired. The sentinel's form exploded into a maze of light and shadow. And Finn, acting on pure instinct, threw himself in front of Naira. But the energy blasts never reached them. They froze in midair, caught in a field of warped space as the sentinel's true power awakened. Primary directive restored, it announced, its voice now carrying echoes of ancient knowledge. Protect life. Prevent extinction. Original purpose, remembered. The arbiters' weapons crumbled to dust in their hands. Their armor began to crack, revealing frightened faces beneath the militant facade. Run, Finn suggested to them. Before it decides to show you exactly what architect technology can really do. They ran. Naira touched Finn's shoulder gently. You were willing to die for me. Why? Well, he said, trying to ignore how his hands were shaking, someone once told me that the simplest solution is sometimes the best one. And keeping you alive seems pretty simple to me. Above them, the battle was changing. The Sentinel's awakening had triggered something in the consortium's stolen technology, causing systems to fail across their entire fleet. But an even bigger change was coming, the truth was about to break free, and neither Earth nor the consortium would ever be the same. Finn checked his scanner one last time. Your crash pod is close. Think it's time we send a message that everyone can hear. Naira's smile was fierce. Indeed. Let's show them what happens when primitives and outcasts work together. The Sentinels I watched them with new understanding. Sometimes, it seemed, the best way to honor the past was to protect the future. Naira's crash pod looked less like a vessel and more like a piece of abstract art, its crystalline surface refracting the beam from Finn's lamp in impossible ways. They'd found it in a massive cavern beneath the mining complex, surrounded by the ruins of ancient machinery that looked suspiciously non-human in origin. Well, that's convenient, Finn said, examining the old equipment. Your pod just happened to crash near architect technology. The Sentinel guided my descent, Naira explained, working to access her pod systems. Even corrupted, part of it remembered this place. The architects had facilities across many worlds, including Earth. The cavern shuddered as another battle raged above. The consortium fleet was in disarray, their stolen technology failing as the Sentinels' awakening triggered dormant safeguards. But the Arbiters were far from defeated, and Earth's military was still caught in the crossfire. "How long to get your transmission ready?" Finn asked, setting up makeshift defenses using his knowledge of the mining facility's systems. "The pod's quantum transmitter is intact, but broadcasting through the consortium's jamming field will take time." Naira's fingers danced across controls that seemed to exist just beneath the pod's surface. "We'll need to boost the signal somehow. Leave that to me." The Sentinel materialized beside them, its form now stable, geometric patterns flowing with purpose rather than chaos. "The Architect's broadcast array in this facility remains operational." Finn raised an eyebrow. "The same array that's been jamming my phone since this started?" "Correct. My corrupted protocols used it to maintain isolation. Now it will serve its original purpose, truth." The cavern's walls suddenly lit up with ancient symbols as dormant systems awakened. Machinery that had slept for millennia hummed to life, responding to the Sentinel's presence. "Perimeter breach detected," the AI announced. "Multiple Arbiter units approaching. Earth military forces following." "Perfect." Finn checked his jerry-rigged defenses, repurposed mining equipment turned into makeshift energy barriers. "Everyone's invited to the party." Naira looked up from her work. "Finn, when this broadcast goes out, everything changes. Earth will know about aliens, the consortium will face rebellion, and the balance of power across known space will shift." "Yeah." He gave her a lopsided grin. "Sounds like an improvement to me." The first explosion rocked the tunnel entrance. Arbiter forces poured in, their armor sparking with energy disruptions but their weapons still deadly. Behind them came Earth's military, an unlikely alliance formed in the heat of battle. "Stop them," an Arbiter commander ordered. "The truth must not dash. The truth," the Sentinel's voice boomed, "is not yours to control." Its golden eye blazed, and reality bent. Arbiters found their weapons transforming into sand, their armor peeling away like old paint.